All right, so we are in chapter 7. We are on the last part here. We are on part J, but we are on surfaces of revolution instead of length. This is the part 2 of part J of the packet. So we're piggybacking off of the length here. And you got to go back to what definition of surface of revolution is. It's going to be a surface area, but it's formed by a revolution. So it's a little bit different than what you've seen in the past. If the graph of a continuous function is revolved about a line, the resulting surface is a surface of revolution, all right, because it's formed by revolving something. So you can see we took this line L, and if you revolve it around the x-axis, you're going to make this dog cone shape. All right, and they go through here, and they try to describe it a little bit. The area of the surface is derived from the lateral surface area of a frustrum, which is from a right circular cone. So you can imagine if we continued this line L all the way to a point, it would be a cone with a point here at the end, but it just got chopped off, which is why it makes it like the dog cone. All right. So to figure that out, you would have to find your average radius, almost like a trapezoid formula. And I feel like if you considered this to be a cylinder, just a regular right circular cylinder, and we were talking about the lateral surface area, all right, our surface area would be 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Well, the 2 pi r squared comes from your circles on the ends. We're not interested in those because those are open on both sides. So this is your lateral surface area of a cylinder. It just happens to be that one radius, right? It's going to be decreasing as you go through. Well, in this picture, right, it's a linear decrease, but in our problems, we don't know how the decrease is going to go. So instead of using h for the distance between the two circles, we're going to use L. All right, and you're going to notice that L is going to come back from your length process that we did earlier in this section of the packet. All right, so then how are we going to calculate out the radius, right? Because we have a large radius on one side in this example and a small one, and based on our curve, right, it could increase or decrease as you go throughout. Well, all those blue lines that I just made is the distance from the curve to the x-axis, which would be the function, right, if we're considering the integral, right? That's a dx slice. So if I just consider that function, that's going to represent my radius, and then the distance formula here is going to represent my length. So we're going to have I'm still going to have my 2 pi, right? So I still have my 2 pi r L. It just happens to be my r is represented by my function, and my capital L, my length, is represented by the length expression that we calculated earlier. And it's going to look a little different if you revolve around the x versus the y. If you notice here, we have f of x here as our function, and some formulas are going to write the letter y there. I find that gets to be a little bit confusing because your dummy variable here is a dx. So to write the y seems a little bit frustrating, a little bit confusing. All right, if you're going to revolve around the y, then you just have an x. All right, it's going to talk just nice because it's going to be that representative slice. All right, let's see if we can get to an example here, make some more sense out of this stuff. All right, so now I'm looking here at the classic box example, right? They use r of x versus r of y instead of just f of x and x for your opposites here. This sort of makes more sense. You've got a dummy variable of y. You should have a function with some y's in it, and you have y's on the inside. A dummy variable of x, right? You're going to have your x's throughout. Okay, so let's try this example 5 here. So my function is a cubic. I'm on the interval from 0 to 1. I'm going to revolve around the x-axis. All right. So then if we are going to revolve around the x, right, then we know we're going to go from a to b to pi f of x, and then we're going to have our function here, our 1 plus our derivative squared dx. Let's see if I can shrink this down just to go back to the other example. Right, if we're going to revolve around the x-axis, we've got our 2 pi, we've got our function, we have our length formula. I know there's a box right there, but I didn't quickly see it explicitly stating revolve on the x or the y, so I wanted to go back to make sure that you saw what I saw. So then my function, right, my f of x, well, f of x is right there. It's the x cubed. So we got to make sure we're putting in x cubed. So then the derivative of x cubed is 3x squared, and that quantity is going to be squared. And then we evaluate. I guess I didn't have to put a to b here, right? We know our limits of integration is from 0 to 1. And same, that would either be a setup question or it'd be a typing question. So then from here, you get out your calculator and you type your buttons and you get your answer. All right, finding the area here. So now we're going to revolve around the vertical axis. So now we're looking for my vertical slices here, right? I'm going to go from 0 to 2. I'm going to pull out my 2 pi on the outside. So now I'm going to have my function here is going to be, right, it's going to be my r of x here. So I'm just going to have an x going in, and then I'm going to have my 1 plus my derivative. All right, so if my function is x squared, my derivative is 2x squared dx. We're still making vertical slices. It just happens to be revolved in a different way to make that surface of revolution. All right, and that is it. That could be the shortest one of the year. Go us.